All right, guys, the final injury report for this upcoming Thursday night football game where the 9-3 Green Bay Packers head to Detroit to take on the 11-1 Detroit Lions just came out. And there are some massive, and I mean massive, injury implications for both teams that just came out. 4 players out for the Green Bay Packers, and I believe also 4 players out for the Detroit Lions. So in today's video, we're going to go over the injury report, break it down, and explain what it means for both teams. All right, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. Let's bring up the screen, and we're going to start with the Green Bay Packers injury report. And man, when I first saw this, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm shocked or surprised, and I almost expected this to happen. But Jaire Alexander is out of this game after practicing Monday and Tuesday in limited fashion. We were all sitting here, at least I was, which I shouldn't have been at this point, going, hey, it looks like Jaire is finally going to return. I even did some stats digging on the Packers actually pressuring less when Jaire is out there, pressuring 6% less, but getting 2% more pressures with Jaire on the field. Now all of that doesn't matter because they're going to be without Jaire yet again. And I believe now his percent drops below 50% in availability in terms of the last 2 seasons and the amount of money the Packers are playing this guy. It's just very unfortunate. I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I hope he gets healthy, and injuries, can derail someone's, season and career. But it's just unfortunate because how much money the Packers are paying him, and they need him in games like this. Although the Lions are banged up as well, I think they have the most players on injured reserve in the entire NFL, right? We need Jaire. They have receivers like Jamison Williams, Monra St. Brown, both weapons on that offense, and it would be massive to have Jaire for this game. But that's not the case. Outside of Jaire, Corey Ballantyne, Edgerrin Cooper, and Romeo Doubs are the 3 other players that are out of this game. I expected Romeo Doubs to potentially be available. We saw limited Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday, and I thought he cleared concussion protocol yesterday, but then Matt LaFleur went on to say, hey, he hasn't cleared concussion protocol yet. Let's see what happens as the week goes on. We'll reevaluate tomorrow or today, Wednesday, right? Obviously, that's reevaluated. Obviously, he hasn't cleared concussion protocol, and he'll be out of this game. Now, this isn't a huge detrimental to the Packers football team. Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, and Malik Heath, although haven't been loading up the stat sheet, have been doing an excellent job in terms of blocking. When you watch all our big run plays or the RPO bubble touchdown to Jaden Reed last week, Dontavian Wicks has been a tremendous blocker on offense. Bo Melton as well, one of the most underrated blocking wide receivers in the NFL. And we know Malik Heath is a good blocker and can be used as a possession type of wide receiver. Had a nice fade route touchdown against the Niners a couple of weeks ago. So it's not a huge detriment to this offense. It'd be great to have Romeo out there, but he has had a lot of drop issues, and coming off a concussion, who knows how that would be. So hopefully he can get right, and hopefully that concussion doesn't stay, longer than this Thursday night game, because the Packers, then go play Seattle next Sunday night. Hopefully he'll be available for that. Edgerrin Cooper being out of this game, no surprise here. Didn't practice Monday and Tuesday, still out with that hamstring. This will be a 3rd straight game missed for Edgerrin Cooper. I can't say that I'm too concerned the fact that Edgerrin Cooper is not available. I'd love to have him on this defense, but when you take a look at the matchup, the Lions run the ball more than the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are already at like 47% of the time they run the ball. I think the Lions at like 48.2%. So it kind of bodes well for the Packers defense to have someone like Isaiah McDuffie out there, more of a run defending style linebacker who, is off the injury report this week. We saw him questionable last week, ended up playing in that game against the Dolphins and had a very good game. So we'll see more Isaiah McDuffie yet again, which is good against the run, not great against coverage. I think he allowed like 11 receptions last week, which is wild. Obviously this is part of the Packers game plan to not allow the Miami receivers to take the top of the defense and so on and so forth. But maybe, and I know I say this every week, but maybe we see some Tyron Hopper on defense, because the Lions, a very run-heavy team. A lot would argue Tyron Hopper more of a run defensive linebacker compared to someone like Eric Wilson. So maybe we will. Outside of that, Corey Ballantyne being out, I think he injured himself on the first kick return last week. So they have Robert Rochelle on the roster. Expect them to call up either Kamal Hadden or Kalen King. I'd like to see Kalen King get a shot. Outside of that, Kenny Clark, good to go. Fitzpatrick, Josh Jacobs, Elton Jenkins, Isaiah McDuffie, Aaron Mosby, Josh Myers, Rasheed Walker, Colby Wooden, all removed off the report, no designation. They're all good to go. Now flipping over to the Lions injury report, and this is massive, guys. I saw this was released like I think 15 to 20 minutes before the Packers won, and really just diving into it, man, this is huge. Taylor Decker is out. He's our starting left tackle. So now it should be Dan Skipper filling in at left tackle, who has not played well in terms of a lineman. If you look at his PFF grade, I think it's around like 50. Take that as you will. But, he's obviously no Taylor Decker. So LVN, who's been playing great the last couple of weeks, Brenton Cox, Aaron Mosby should be the ones lined up against someone like Dan Skipper. Now, there's a shot they could put Penei Sewell to the left side and then Dan Skipper in at the right. Then that just puts Rashawn Gary against Dan Skipper. So pick your poison. Taylor Decker being out is huge for that offense. Now, what's even bigger is, they are just riddled with injuries on defense, especially their front seven. Levi Onwuzurike, a rotational defensive lineman, is out with a hamstring injury. Josh Pascal, starting defensive end, is out with a knee injury. DJ Reader, starting defensive lineman, is out with a shoulder injury. So they're really only down to Aleem McNeil and Zadarius Smith on that defensive line, not to mention Malcolm Rodriguez was just placed on IR, one of their starting linebackers next to Jack Campbell. Now David Long will fill in, who they just signed November 18th to their practice squad that was recently cut from the Miami Dolphins. He hasn't been playing well this season. So the Lions are really, really banged up, and they should easily be able to run over this defense in terms of running the football with Josh Jacobs. When we looked at the last matchup, the last time the Packers played the Lions, they went away from the running game because they had to. After that pick six before half, they had to start throwing the football. But Josh Jacobs finished with 7.3 yards per carry. I think that's his highest mark on the entire season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, that's even more of a banged up front seven right now. So the Packers should be able to run the football and give Josh Jacobs, I'm not even kidding here, 30 carries. And if the Packers can run 30 times with Josh Jacobs, I have high confidence that they will win this football game. Because if you run the ball that much, usually you're up at some point. It's going to be very imperative for the Packers to gain a lead early and then hopefully just dictate the clock and run with Josh Jacobs, Chris Brooks, Emmanuel Wilson, both of which had better averages than Josh Jacobs last week. They have a three-headed monster backfield back there, so they can hand the ball to any of these guys. The Packers have been running the ball successfully, and the Lions have a lot of injuries in terms of stopping the run. So that's the final injury report, Packers versus Lions, Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Such a massive, massive game for both teams with NFC North implications. If the Packers lose this game, Lions all but locked up the NFC North. Obviously, a lot can change, but in my opinion, if the Packers beat the Lions, maybe they end up still being able to take the NFC North. Both teams are going to be in the playoffs. Lions, I believe, can clinch with a win. Packers are at like 98% right now, likely will be making the playoffs, even if it's third in the NFC North. But this is a huge game, obviously, after the Lions really just overpowered the Packers, for lack of better words, last week or in week 9. So this is huge, and it's going to be a huge game for the Packers, for them to kind of restore, the NFC North in terms of the Packers still being a contender to win the NFC North. And they're playing some really, really good football right now. But I appreciate you guys coming by to the video. I'll be live for tomorrow's game, so if you want to swing on by to the live stream, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack, go.